four-time Miss Olympia Jay Cutler. Welcome to my channel, Jay Cutler TV, and make sure to stay in tune with the newest and updated videos. Subscribe below, guys. Thank you so much for following along.
Hey guys, welcome to Be Built by Broser. Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow. Anyway, today on the show, what I want to show you guys is on the leg press and on the leg extension, I want to show a few different foot positions, leg positions that we can use to hit different portions of the thigh. A lot of you guys who are experienced may know these things, but we have a lot of viewers who've never done this before. So I want to show you different ways so you can hit the inner thigh, the outer thigh, the middle of the thigh, concentrate more on the quads and the hamstrings, and also bring more hamstrings and glutes into play. So we're going to show you that on the leg press and the leg extensions, and I hope you guys get a lot out of it and enjoy the show. Okay guys, as promised, we're going to show you some different stances on the leg press machine so that we can hit different parts of the thigh. We're on an angled leg press. And how Dave is starting out is just with a very general foot stance. As you can see, his feet are about halfway up the platform, about shoulder width apart, and he's got his toes pointing outward just slightly, which helps to open up the hip. This is your general foot stance. Now I'm going to have him move his feet out wide. And what this is going to work is a little bit more into the inner portion of the thigh, the vastus medialis, or the teardrop, and the adductors as well, to help give you that meat on the inner thigh. So he's got his feet, again, halfway up the platform, but now they're all the way out wide on either side. I'm going to have him move his feet now inward, just about perfectly together. Same position on the platform. And what this is going to work is a little bit more of the outer portion of the sweep of the thigh, or the vastus lateralis. And again, we're not isolating any portion of the thigh, we're just focusing on different portions and hitting muscle fibers in those areas a little harder. Now if we want to work a little bit more into the hamstrings and glutes, he's going to put his feet up higher. He can go close stance or anywhere out to about shoulder width, or even wider if he wants to hit the mid thigh or the outer thigh. But as you can see, his feet are at the top of the platform. The toes are almost just slightly off. He's pushing through the heels. And this is going to work, of course, the quads, but also involve a little bit more of the upper glutes, and where the glutes tie into the hamstrings as well. Now, if we want to isolate the quads more from the hamstrings, you move the feet low on the platform, about shoulder width. His heels are just a little bit off the bottom of the platform. This takes the hamstrings out of the movement and the glutes out of the movement, forces the quads to work a little bit harder. I just want to caution you guys, when you use this foot position, to go a little bit lighter than you normally would, because it puts a little bit more torque on the knees. So be careful, especially on the negative portion of the rep. And again, this hits more of the quads, takes out the hamstrings and glutes. So there's a bunch of different stances you can use on a leg press to make sure that you cover the entire thigh, and you want to hit your weak points, and the leg press is a great machine to do this. Okay guys, so now we're on the leg extension machine, and I want to show you a few different ways to do these to also hit different portions of the thigh. He's starting off with just a general leg extension, so basically feet are shoulder width apart, toes pointing straight ahead. And here he's just working, of course, the overall quad. Now what he's going to do is when he comes to the top, he's going to turn his toes outward. And by turning his toes outward at the top, he's going to force the fibers in the teardrop muscle, or the vastus medialis, to work a little bit harder. So if you weaken this area, turning the toes out hits it a little bit harder. If he wants to hit the outside portion of the thigh, or the vastus lateralis, or the sweep, he's now going to turn his toes inward towards each other. And this is going to work this muscle right here on the outer portion of the thigh, the vastus lateralis. Now the final one is a real interesting one. I'm going to have him remove the pad that's behind him, which is keeping him a little bit more upright, so he can slide his hips forward. As you can see, he slides his hips forward, and his back is just slightly off the pad. And by leaning back and sliding his hips forward, he's going to force the muscles in the mid portion of the thigh, the vastus intermedialis, to work harder. So when you want to get those splits in the middle of the thigh, this takes some of the pressure off of the outer and inner portion and puts it right in the middle of the thigh by sliding those hips forward and leaning back a little bit. So if you're a competitor and you want a little bit more detail in the middle of the thigh, this is a great way to get it. And that's some great foot positions that you could use on the leg extension to get better overall thigh development.
All right, Merlin, so you get some good questions this week?
Yes, and actually this question came as a result of our last show, where I was discussing and asked Merlin about something about muscle soreness.
From posing.
And what to do about it and what not to do. And I mentioned not taking NSAIDs every day and that kind of stuff. But it produced a question from somebody who watches the show, which I thought was an interesting question. And he basically, in a nutshell, wanted to know, is muscle soreness a necessity for muscle growth? So, in other words, if you're never sore, does that mean you're not growing? And that's, really a question that could be a very, very long answer, and we don't have the time for it. So I'm going to try to simplify it here and say, first of all, no, it is not 100% necessary to be sore in order to grow. So in other words, if you're never sore, that does not mean that you're not making gains. So you can not worry about that. Now, soreness is a funny thing because, a lot of it depends on obviously the type of training you do, but it also depends on the individual. Some people recover faster from workouts than others. That's just a genetic thing. Some people get more sleep than others. Some people's nutrition is better than others. Some people's supplementation is better. All of these factors will come into play about how quickly you recover from workouts. And obviously, we do want to recover from workouts as quickly as possible so the next day we can go back to the gym and be fresh to do it again. However, what I will say is that you should be sore now and again from workouts, I do believe, because muscle soreness, while it can be produced from, doing, running a long distance that you're not used to, or doing 1,000 push-ups, which you don't normally do, those usually are producing muscle soreness because of a buildup of lactic acid in the muscle, and that lactic acid takes a while to clear. That's a little different than the muscle soreness that's produced through fiber trauma, which is something that we are trying to produce during workouts. We do want to injure the fibers. We do want to cause trauma to the fibers. That tearing and that injury, that micro trauma, signals the body to begin muscle growth. It's an anabolic signal. So while I will say that it's not necessary to be sore and not able to walk or move after every workout, it is good to have a certain amount of muscle soreness, even if it's for 12 to 24 hours after a workout. Generally,
it comes and goes, though, I want to say, because sometimes you'll go long periods with, I don't know if it's because, well, we never do the same thing, but some people may do the same workout over and over, and sometimes they just change something, or something changes in the routine and they're sore like crazy. I mean, I told you the past 2 weeks I've been sore like nuts, and I don't understand why, because we always train hard, but it comes and goes. So sometimes you're much more sore and sometimes you're less sore. It doesn't mean you don't make any progress, like you said.
Exactly, yeah. So I don't want anybody to think that if you're not sore, you're not making progress.
Right.
I just want to say that you should be sore occasionally. And if you're, and this means just the point that you just brought up. If you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, your body becomes so accustomed to it that you're really not causing the muscle damage. You're not really giving your body a new stimulus. You're not giving the body something that it needs to grow. Remember, the body's only going to go in response to, training it very, very hard or giving it something that it's not used to. If it's used to doing the same thing over and over again, then you may not grow.
It adapts. Yeah.
But certain things like lifting very, very heavy weights for very, very slow negatives, holding the stretch for 3 to 4 seconds on something like flies or stiff-legged deadlifts, holding the contraction for 3 or 4 seconds. And these are all things that we do in our training and that I recommend to my clients, because I do want to bring about that fiber trauma. I'm not necessarily looking them to make them so sore that they can't move, but I would like to see some soreness every now and again, so at least you know that you're pushing your body beyond its limits and forcing it into a state of growth, maybe out of the stagnation that it's in. So, like I said, we can answer this question for hours at a time, write a book on it, but the take-home message is no, you don't need to be sore necessarily to grow.
We just like to be.
Well, soreness, it's a good thing, because I know most of us like to wake up the next day after we train, you know, a body part and go, oh man, that hurts.
Yeah.
It feels good. You want to have that soreness. But again, it's not necessary to grow, but I do believe that if you're not getting sore ever, that you need to look at your training and change something up, whether it be the movements, whether it be the cadence of the repetitions,
the order,
or the order of the exercises, the repetition ranges, the time, the rest between sets. Look at something in training and see if you've been doing too much of the same thing over and over again, because that could be the reason you're not sore. And then for that reason, you're not going to grow. Again, insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So make sure to look at your training. But again, you don't have to be sore to grow. That's not a physiological fact.
Okay, you get something else?
Yes, this is from, and I don't know if I'm saying your last name right, Jeff Petit. And you wanted to know, you wrote this on my Facebook page on Ask Merlin Monday, which I thank you for. Keep those questions coming, because again, these are great for Jay Cutler TV, and if I don't answer them here, I will answer them on my page. He wanted to know, when you're looking to drop body fat, drop weight, is my preference as a coach to raise the cardio, do more cardio so that the calories can stay higher, or the opposite, hold back on the cardio. You know, you don't have to do as much cardio, but you lower the calories. Is that a more effective approach? And my answer to that is it really depends on the individual. Some people respond better to more work. They need to actually do more work in the gym, more cardio, to get the body to drop that stubborn body fat. Some people do better when they're doing less cardio, because they become more overtrained more easily, and they respond better to just having their calories brought down, especially in the form of carbohydrates, and that seems to do the trick for them. The thing that I want to emphasize is that, you know, this is something you need to change week to week. You need to look at your body every single week. Not only the scale, don't just look at the scale and see if the weight has come down. Look at your body fat. Either take your body fat percentage, go to a professional and have the same person do it over and over again to see if your percentage is coming down, or at least visually look in the mirror and compare pictures to see what's happening. Don't necessarily just go by the scale, because that doesn't tell the full story. But don't change too many things at one time. So in other words, don't add more cardio in and lower your calories at the same time. Do one thing each week. Maybe alternate week to week. This is something that I do very often with my clients. Some weeks I'll raise their cardio, leave their calories the same. Sometimes I'll lower the calories and leave the cardio the same. It depends on what's happening with their body and what I'm seeing. But you definitely I don't have a preference for either. I just believe that you shouldn't do both at one time. And I think that each individual responds a little bit differently. I also, you know, sometimes will even add more cardio in and actually raise calories up a little bit, and then the following week the cardio will be higher, and then I'll drop calories. So then we actually, over the course of 2 weeks, we've raised cardio and dropped calories, but we have that 1 week where I raise the calories, which sometimes will stimulate the metabolism, and you'll actually find that you lose more weight and more body fat like that. So again, this is a very individual thing. This is something that each coach has to look at each client and what they respond to best. Like I said, though, just make sure you don't do both at once. Do one thing, and don't just go by the scale. Make sure to look in the mirror, see what's happening to your body fat, or if you can, have your body fat taken by a professional each week, the same person, the same day, and you'll get a better feeling for what's happening with your body.
Thanks, Biggie.